This is FemiDlive.
Nothing breaks the news like the news. Trust me, I can prove it. I'm ready. Let's take on the biggest debates on radio, provide insights, experience, and build an unforgettable discussion together. I am Femi D. Amele. Let's talk with FemiDlive is on.
Thanks for joining in. Here comes another moment in Nigeria's history. Well, 1993, 92 into 93 was monumental in the start of our democracy. Some have argued that this is the true date in which democracy started off in Nigeria, or the very thinking of it. And one man was in the center of that discussion, Moshood Abiola. He had won the Nigerian votes and even the hearts of Nigerians, at least 14 million of them, in the course of that very year's election. With not so much babbling and with not so much exploration of what could not be, he was certain that he is the next man to be the president. But then, things turned out differently as the then president, Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, declared differently. But here is a response to what Abiola had to say to the very development that would deny him of the presidency, lead to a heartbreak, and ultimately lead to his death.
Well, it is very gratifying. I've always known that the events of the last few weeks have, in fact, enabled people to make up their mind a lot more firmly. In fact, it has increased tremendously the public support that I have in the country. Nigerians are ready for democracy. Nigeria have elected their president, and Nigerians are not prepared to go for another election. The truth of the matter is that you do not have two sunrises in one day. Even in Africa, the sun rises only once a day, and that is the way it is. The people have made it very clear that that is what they want, and I'm sure the purpose is to let government know that the people are very serious in what they are saying. You see, given to what? What would they give in to? There's nothing to give in to. The election was pronounced fair, free, fair and peaceful by the international observers and by the government-owned observers themselves. So what is there to give in to? As a matter of fact, they do not see any reason to prolong the democratic process anymore. And the SDP as a party is very clear. The executive committee made it very clear last week. The meeting in Benin too has made it very, very clear, even doubly clear, that there's no question of the party going back. To go back is to tell the Nigerian people that we are not a serious party. We are a very serious party. There are, we understand, a few officers who are not happy about the result of the election. But a few officers cannot be more important than the generality of Nigerian people. 14 million Nigerian people voted in the last election, more than voted at the National Assembly election. And as a proportion, probably more than I voted in the United States election, presidential election. So that in itself is a massive mandate. And I have 58.9% of the votes. I won in 20 states, and I won the 1/3 of the votes in 28 out of 30 states, and at the Federal Capital Territory of Abuja. There's nothing else. Well, it's not a matter of backpedaling. It's a matter of a misunderstanding. He was not accurately informed. For example, there were talks about bribes there were allegations of bribery to NEC. I've already said Anybody with proof of that allegation should go to court. Bribery of an electoral officer, of a public officer, is an offence. It's really a felony under the law of Nigeria. The matter should be taken to a criminal court. And secondly, there were allegations that the turnout was low. That has been debunked. There were more voters during the presidential election than during the National Assembly elections. So that is not true either. There were allegations that the judiciary is being put into jeopardy or into ridicule. We were able to prove that neither of the two candidates went before any court. It was an illegal organization supposedly being sponsored by the government itself that took matters to court. That has nothing to do with us. There were allegations that large sums of money were spent, 2.1 billion naira. That was not true. I've denied it. The other candidate has denied it. In any case, there is no upper limit to the expenditure that can be incurred by any candidate in the presidential election or in any election under the law of Nigeria. All these are just trumped up charges, excuses as it were, not reasons. There is plenty of hope. That there's no doubt at all that the president and the military government will leave office on the 27th of August. And there might be need to meet and discuss some details. And I'm always ready and willing to discuss details. This is not a civilian versus military situation. A preponderant majority of the Nigerian military and their family voted overwhelmingly for me in the last election. So there was no question of the military. There are quite a few, just a few officers who probably are unhappy about the changes. We will give them all the assurances they need. There is room for every Nigerian, especially the top officers who have been trained at tremendous cost to the taxpayers of Nigeria. The list of people which people have alleged have been prepared by me for dismissal or retirement is not true. I have no such list. We need all the soldiers we have in the Nigerian army, especially the senior ones who have been trained at considerable cost to the taxpayers of our country. President Babangida is a friend. If you look at the house, take a snapshot of all the pictures in the house, you will find more of his pictures in my house than my own pictures. We've been friends for over 20 years, very, very close friends. There have been quite a lot of efforts made by some people to create some friction between us. These are very trying period, but friendship is made to last and be passed from one generation to the other. I believe that will be the case in our situation too. These are temporary difficulties. The nation is passing through it. The armed forces, some of them are passing through it. But you will not allow that to affect our relationship. I don't know who is asking him to apologize. Is anybody asking him to apologize? See, a leader does what he believes is the best thing to do in a given circumstance. But a leader, when he has superior facts, can change his mind. That won't amount to apology. And nobody's asking him to. I'm not. I'm just asking you. I mean, in what context was that statement made?
It was in the news today.
I'm not asking him to apologize.
I believe this man knows what he's doing. He is a Nigerian.
And ultimately brings you to the king of talk radio, FemiDlive.
Of Nigeria. I should think again. That's all. I'm not asking for apology. In fact, that is not required. Well, you know, this is a very. It is not always every time that the changeover of government from military to civilian goes as clockwork as that of Obasanjo to Ajishewu Shagari. It could be difficult in some instances, but maturity is required to deal with it. Experience is required, and patriotism is required on both sides. Yes. That will not be lacking by the grace of God on this occasion too. Certainly not on this side.
This is FemiDlive.
Nothing breaks the news like the news. Trust me, I can prove it. I'm ready. Let's take on the biggest debates on radio, provide insights, experience, and build an unforgettable discussion together. I am Femi D. Amele. Let's talk with FemiDlive is on.
The podcast you just heard was recorded with Anchor. If you want to make your own, download the Android or iOS app completely free from anchor.fm/podcast. That's anchor.fm/podcast.